Hi, it's Bill Hitchcock, and today what we're going to be doing is working on one of the first homework assignments. So let me just scroll down through your course website, and we'll get to the homework. So we've got Outlook here, that's the one that you just got done. And here we go, here's our first Microsoft Excel homework assignment. So we've got some practice sheets that I want you to kind of work through and so on. But here is the assignment itself, and you can download the instructions for the assignment, and then here's the Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to click on that, wait until it downloads, click on it to open it, maximize this on my screen, and here we go. So we've got a number of tasks, and I'm just going to zoom in on these, make this a little bit easier. The first one is to open up the file. We just got done doing this, and then save this on our C drive. So I'm going to click on File, Save As, choose Browse, and then scroll through all these different drive options that you might have. You're going to be looking for something that says either this PC or here's this PC. You might choose that to open it. If it's already open, you should have an option for your C drive, in other words, the hard drive on your computer. And then what I'd recommend is if you don't already have it, I would create a new folder, call it Courses, and just hit enter. Open up that folder, create another one for CIT 110, Principles, CIT, something short, sweet. Don't put any spaces in the folder names. That way we can put that stuff onto the web later on if we want to do it. I'll double click here, and then here's our Excel, the first Excel assignment for on lists. It's courses, and maybe what you want to do is put your last name there and save or enter, and we've got this saved. So up at the top, if you look on the title bar, it's got your file name that you just saved. Then up here, go ahead, type in your name. Below it, the done date. So I'm doing this on September 7th, 2020. And notice when I do that, it automatically formatted it as a long date. So I didn't type in that word, I just typed in the 9/7/2020, and it tells you that it's on a Monday. For today is, I would encourage you to use the today function. So you type in equals today and two parentheses, hit enter, and again, it's formatted as a long date, and you can see how many days it's been since you created this. All right, so far task one is done. That looks pretty good. Next thing it says, format the field names in row 1 with bold center wrap text and adjust all columns appropriately. Well, that's referring to our data set, and here's our data set. I've got a list of records. In the leftmost column is the record number. So you can see I've just got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if I hit my end key once, it turns on the end mode down here. Hit my down arrow key, and it goes all the way down, and you can see there's 400, it says it's 470 records. We can double check that and see if that sounds about right or not. Let's redo the number. So we'll save our work. We're going to click on data and sort this from ascending to descending order to make sure that all those records are in order. And then let's highlight these first three. I'm going to go to Home, use a comma format, get rid of the 2 decimal places, and then I'll double click on the fill handle, this little black box in the lower right hand corner. And now if we go down, you'll see there's actually a total of 423 records, not the 470. We must have had some that were duplicate records, deleted some of those. So what's nice about that is it is an idea about how many records we have in our list, and I'll show you some other ways of checking that. All right, so task number 2, it says format the field names. Num, max, enrollment, weight, synonym number, the campus, the department, the course, and so on. Those are field names. So I'm going to highlight all those. I'll hold my shift key down with my left hand, hit the end key, it's in the lower right hand corner of my keyboard, to turn on the end mode, and then right arrow. And that goes all the way until it finds a blank cell. That's all my fields. And in fact, if you keep holding shift and go a little bit past it, it won't hurt anything, especially if we're going to add any other additional fields in here, we can do that. So I want to choose bold. That's under the home tab. Notice everything's all bold-faced now. I'm going to choose center under the alignment group. And then finally, also in alignment, I'm going to choose wrap text. So that way things like minimum credit, maximum credit shows up as being one on top of the other. So that took care of the first part. I'll hold my control key, hit home, which is in the upper right hand corner. It goes back to cell A1. I'm going to cursor down a cell. And next what I want to do is freeze the panes. So I'll click under View, choose Freeze Panes, and Freeze Panes. So now as I scroll through all my records, notice that row 1 is locked in place and I can still tell what field is what. Control Home takes you back to cell A2. That's where we froze the panes. So task number 2 is done. Let's see. Actually, task number 3 is the freeze panes, so we got that done. Task 4 says to sort the records by title. So again, before you ever sort, it's always a good idea, save your file. Right now it's sorted in numeric order or record number order. We want to come over to the title. So I'll come over to that field and let's try sorting this. And this time you can either do it in the data tab here in the middle or in the home tab. So this time let's try the home tab. Go way over to the right for sort and filter, and let's sort from A to Z in ascending order. So the first record when we do that is our Psych 231 Abnormal Psychology. It meets in Wallert Hall, and you can see some of the other information about that particular course. So you're going to need what's the first record, what's the last record. To get to the last record, as long as you're in any one of these fields that has a continuous set of values, we can hit end and down. The last record is actually record number 10. It's the Writing Strategies course, and when they're sorted by title, that's what we have. So I'm going to hit Control Home. Go back to the top. The first record is record number 369. It is Abnormal Psychology. All right, for number 5, we said how many total courses are there? Well, one easy way is to sort back by number. So let's sort from smallest to largest by number. Hit end and down, and it tells us how many records that we have there. Another good way of doing it is if you type in the count function. So type in, before we do it, come to at least one blank row beneath all of our records. So I'm in row 426 in this case. I'll type in equals count, parenthesis, cursor up one cell, hold your shift key, cursor up a couple more, and then I actually want to go all the way up to the top. So if you want, just holding your shift key, you can click on cell A1. So it's grabbing everything from that range of rows A1 to A425, type in a right parenthesis, hit enter, and sure enough, it turns out there are indeed 423 records that we have, and I'm just formatting that with a comma format. So I could find out other things. For instance, I want to try copying this formula to a couple of these other columns and try out the count function. So notice for the max, I've got 423 records that have an entry in the maximum. I've got 423 that have an entry in the enrollment field, but for weight it shows 0. That's because the count function only counts numeric data. So number 5 asks us how many total courses we have. We've got an answer for that. But number 6 says how many courses have a wait list. So it doesn't look like I can use the count function for that. So let's hit Control Home and try to figure out what the wait list. So record number 1, it does have a wait list. It's got a Y in there. Record 2 doesn't. The next one is record 14. It's got a Y. We've got another Y. So you can either just go through here and try to count up all those Y's, or what you can do is sort by that column. Come up here to the top. Here's number 1. I'm going to hold my Shift key down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can just start counting these. Or if you look down on your status bar, I've got a count function. And if yours doesn't show up, just right click on your status bar. You can put in the average, you can put in the count, you can put in a numerical count, minimum, maximum, sum. So in this case, count will work for counting up things that have text in them. All right, so that's why I'm seeing count. If I would have come over here to the record numbers and started highlighting some of those, notice not only do I get the count, I get the average of those numbers, I get the minimum, the maximum, and so on. So let's try going in here for counting up the number of Y's. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Count says it's 10. Keep going. And it looks as though I've got a total of 86 that show up as have a wait list. So that's method number 1. Sort, count, you've got it. Method number 2. Rather than using the count function, there's something that's called the count A function. Count A will include any text that you might have. So if I change my formula to count A, D1 to D425, hit enter, it tells me I've got 87 that are on the wait list. Well, when we counted it the other way, we only had 86. That's because it's also counting this field name. So what you could do is adjust the range and make it D2 to D245 or 425. That's where you get your 86. Or what I can do is I can leave that range the way we originally had it and just subtract 1 off because I'm going to take 1 off of the field name. So that would be a way of doing it. All right. Oops, I didn't mean to erase all of those cells. I'm just going to get rid of these 2. Finally, one other way of doing it is there's another function. It's a COUNTIF function. And you can say COUNTIF, give it the range. So I'm holding my Shift key down. Everything from D1 to D425. And my criteria is I'm looking for the letter Y. So I'll put that in quotes, hit enter, and I get my 86. So if I had something that had a wait list and I put in an M for maybe, for example, notice the count A counts that as having something on the wait list because it's counting the text, but my COUNTIF function only checks for Y's. So that's actually almost a better way of doing it is using the COUNTIF function. So consider doing that as well. All right, that takes care of task number 6. So what percent of total records is this? To get the percentage, it's just equal to the number of records that you have divided by the total number of records. Gives me 0.2. I can format it with a percent sign. I can increase the decimals. It's slightly over 20%. So I would just go ahead, leave it at 0 decimal places, and you can see that. If you leave it at 20.3, it's a little bit better because that way you can kind of tell that somebody's probably not just going to type that number in, but use a use a formula to do it. Again, that way if we add some more courses that have a wait list to it, you can see that the number is starting to go up. Whereas if you just type in that number, it won't work for you. All right, next, task number 8. We've said which courses are senior level courses. So senior level courses would be if the course number is 400 or above. So let's try doing, I could go through here manually and try to count up which ones are 400 level or above, or let's try sorting by the course number. So let's go to home, let's choose course, sort and filter. Let's sort from smallest to largest. I'm going to go end and up. We've got a couple of courses that start with the 0, so it's kind of like not really college level type courses. Then we've got all the 100 level first year level courses, and we could highlight all those that are 100 level, count up those, take a look at it. So it looks like the average or the count is 126. I've got 200 level, and I can count those up, and so on. All right, so let's scroll down here a ways and see if we can find any 400 level courses. I'm just going to hit my page down key to skip down a little bit further. Here we go. Here we've got some 400 level courses, and we can go through and count up some of those that are senior level courses. And then finally we have 500, 600 that are graduate level courses. So that's how you could get a count for something like that. Another way of doing it is I'm going to add in a field off here to the right, call it level, and what we can do is use let's see, let's try a round function, and I'm going to round off the course number to 0. So what 0 does with the round function is it rounds something off to the nearest one's place. If I put in a -1, it rounds it off to the nearest tens. So if I copy this down just to kind of give you an idea of what's happening, notice for 071 it rounded it off to 070. 93 rounded it off to 90. Here we've got a bunch of 100 level courses. If you try rounding it to the -2, here I've got, it rounds up in this case to 100 level courses, and that way it kind of breaks all this stuff off into different course levels that way. So maybe that's part of what we can try doing. Something else that we can try doing is we can see if we can pull in and use something called the left function. And I'm going to take the leftmost digit. So I'll type in (1). And let's see, this one's given me 5. All right, that's not going to work all that well. Never mind. Let's try round down. And I want to take my course number. We'll try -2. That's maybe looking promising. Let's copy this down a little bit further. Here's all my 100 level courses. Looking good so far. Let's see what happens. When I go from 195 to 200, good. That's going to 200. That's looking good. Here's 295. That's still at 200. Then we start the 300 level courses and so on. So the round down function seems to be giving me what I want. So We're going to stay in that column, hit end and down to get down to the bottom. And then I want to find out how many zero level courses do I have, how many 100, 200, and if you like, highlight those two cells, copy this down, and now what I can do is say equals count if, parenthesis, I'm going to count if I've got all of these cells. Hang on. Let me try it again. Equals count if, parenthesis, I want to go up one cell. Hold my shift key. Click on cell AG. So I've got AG1 through AG425. Type in a comma and then click on the cell just to the left of it. In other words, 0. Hit enter. I get 3 of those courses. Now what I'd like to be able to do is copy this formula down. The only problem is when I copy this down, I'm getting some numbers, but look what happened to the range. Now I'm getting AG2 to AG426. So that's changing. When I copied it one more down, I'm getting AG3 to AG427. So I don't want that range to change. So the way to fix it is you put in a $sign between the 1 and the 425, and what it will do is it will lock that row in place. So now when I do this, copy that formula, copy it down for my different list of cells, and let's try doing 700, see if there's any 700, any 800 level. Doesn't look like there are. I want to get the total of these and check to see, does it equal my total of courses? Yes, it does, the 423. And then finally, I want to take and divide 3 divided by 423. And I want to always use that cell. So I'm going to put in a $sign right between the right in front of that 426, or 436, excuse me, the denominator. It tells me that 1% of our cells, and I'm just going to shrink this size down a bit, are 0 level. Here's the 100 level courses, 200 level courses, 300 level courses. 12% of our courses are senior level courses, and we've got something like this. So I'm going to just grab these. I'm going to move this, so I'll hit Control X, put this over here. So you have a nice little summary. It tells you something about the types of courses that we've got. So just other little things that we can do in Excel. I'm going to save my work. We've done a lot, actually. All right. That's task number 8. How many different departments are there? All right. Hit Control Home. Go to Department. Sort by department. Start counting. Here's 1 department. Here's 2. Here's 3. Here's 4, 5, and so on. All right. It's a little bit annoying to have to try to count all of those that way. So another trick that you can do is we're going to highlight all of our departments. Shift, end, and down. Copy this. Go to the end. And I'm going to paste it right here. Now all that did is it just made duplicates of all that. And that's not quite what I want to do. But what I'd like to do is if you go to Data, there's an option for removing duplicates. So I choose Remove Duplicates. If it's got the word department in there checked, good. If it isn't, you might have to check this where it says My Data has headers. Hit OK. It tells me 381 duplicate values, 42 unique ones remain. If you add up 381 and 482 and 42, you should get 423. So that looks good. How many different departments do you have? You've got 42 of them. We could do count if here. parenthesis. I want to find out of the departments. I'm going to go to G425, hold my shift key, choose G1. If you hold your function key and hit the F4 key once, I'm still holding function, hit it twice. Now I've got those dollar signs in the right place. Type in a comma and click on the department. And I see that there's 9 courses that are listed in the accounting department. And copy this down. Hit end and down. Total these up. Equals sum parenthesis. I'm going to total all these department numbers up because I want to make sure that I'm getting a total of 423, and I am, so that looks good. So I'm just going to put in a header here. I'll call it count. And if you want to see it as a percent, it equals the count, number 9, divided by this total that we have here, but I always want to reference that cell. So I hold my function key, hit function F4 2 times, hit enter. It gives me a 0, but if I format this, 2% of the courses are accounting courses. Copy it down, and we can see what we've got there. I can use my format painter to format paint these field names so I get the same look. Widen this one out just a little bit. And now that I've got all that information in, we can sort by different columns. So let's sort this by percent, largest to smallest. And it looks like the music department offers the most different courses based on here. And you can scroll through and kind of see. Now some of these are showing 0. That's because it's just a fraction of a percent. So if you carried that out a little bit further, you could. All right, that was departments. So for how many different instructors? Do the same kind of thing. Go to instructor, copy it down, use, well, we'll do it, shift and down. That'll let me select all these instructors. Let me try it again. I lost it. Shift, end, and down arrow. Hit Control C to copy it. I click on this blank row down here because that's where I'm going to want to put it down here. And we'll choose Data, Remove Duplicates. It's going to be for instructor. And there is 133 unique values. You can sort by instructor, so they're alphabetically sorted. You can kind of take a look through here to see if there's any kind of, here's one that Professor Garrett and Professor Marks share. So let's just take that, narrow up that column just to give us a bit more room. And you can see some of the different instructor names. All right, Control Home. Let's save this. We've got, how many online classes are there? I don't know. Do we have any online classes? That's under the room number. Sort it by room number. Go to the end. Here's a bunch of online classes. So you can search for it that way. Or again, down at the bottom, let's do ONL. Do a count if. Choose my range. Everything from S1 to S425. Type in a comma, 0.2, whatever it is that you want to search for. And we find out there's 67. So I want to look and see, are there any TBA classes? Yeah, it looks like there's one. Are there any that are taught in room 402? it looks like there's 7 courses that are taught in 402. So that's the beauty of using a COUNTIF function. Number 12 says which building has the most courses, not including online courses. All right, that one's going to be a little bit, I guess maybe different ways of approaching it. What I could do is take the buildings, hold my shift key to select all the buildings, copy it. I'm going to put that over here, paste it, remove duplicates, and find out that I've got 16 different buildings. And then we could do COUNTIF to count up how many courses are held in some of those different buildings. Another way of doing it is if you hit Control Home, save your work, go to Insert, and we're going to use something called a pivot table. So I'll click on a pivot table. It says select your range of data. It's all my records. It looks like it's got the right thing, so just go ahead, hit OK. And I want to put in, if I go to the right hand side, I want to choose, look through my fields and find building. And there I've got all my buildings. The Alumni Campus Center, the Academic Resource Center, arranged, and so on. All right, so we've got all these different buildings put in here. Then I want to count out how many classes are taught in those. So let's put in the number, which that's a numeric value, and it's summing this up, which isn't quite what I really want. So what I've got to do on the right hand side here, where it says values, I'm going to click on this drop down arrow, and I want to choose value field settings. And I don't want the sum, but instead I want to count up how many of those courses I have. So we'll hit OK, and there we've got it. There's 18 courses in the Alumni Campus Center. Hoffman's got 71. Online has got 67. Science has got 53. So let's take a look back here. We said online. Let me move this so I can see. When we typed in ONL, sure enough, we got 67 on that. So the numbers check. Right, that looks pretty good. All right, let's go back to sheet number 1. We can sort this pivot table from largest to smallest. And there we go. We can find out which one's got the most. We can find, this TBA has only got one class to be announced. It will be handled later, and so on. So if you're looking at some of these different buildings, you can see where most of them have classes and which ones don't. All right, number 13. How many different courses are offered at 10 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, Friday? All right, if I go back to the combined sheet tab, hang on, let me get out of here. Let me click back on the count of this. Let me try clicking on combined. Oops, it's not letting me. Move some of these things around. All right, there we go. Now I'm back on combined. All right, I'm going to hit Control Home. I'm looking for Monday, Wednesday, Friday courses at 10 o'clock. So let's sort this and filter it. So under the Home tab, go to Sort and Filter, Custom Sort. I want to sort by the, what do I want to sort by? Not by room, but by days. Let me see if I can find days in here. There's days. Then I'm going to add a level, and I want to sort by the start time. And we'll hit OK. And I can start scrolling through these days to try to find the Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes. Or another approach that you can do is if you go to Data and turn on the filter. Filter allows you to search for just particular types of days. So I'm going to uncheck all of these and just check Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes. And now I've got just those records popping up. Then I want to go to the start time, uncheck select all, start at 10 o'clock, hit OK, and I've got those records listed here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Keep going down. I see that there's 20 of them. And then you can decide if you also want to include, for instance, the 10:05 and the 10:10. Virtually, they also start at the same, I would consider them 10 o'clock classes. So there might be some argument for that. And it looks like we've got a total of 36 of those type classes. So try the filtering, give that a try. Let's give it, let's choose select all, uncheck it, try the 8 o'clock classes, hold your shift key, select those out. If I hit control home so I can see what I'm looking at again, it looks like we don't have near the 8 o'clock classes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That matches up with my count down here at the bottom. Looks good. All right, I'm going to turn the filter off. And we're back to all of our records. I'm going to resort these records back in the original sorting order of record number. And then it says to task number 14, insert 2 rows above the field names. So click on row number 1, right on the row number. Hold your shift key, cursor down 1. That selects those 2 rows. Right click, choose insert. You now have 2 new rows above it. Up in our new row 1, above the cap, or capacity, let's see, that's way over here, percent capacity, we're going to type in 90%. And we can, actually I'm going to highlight all these fields here. I want to shrink the font size down a bit. Save my work. I'm going to use conditional formatting to highlight these numbers. So on the Home tab, conditional formatting, new rule, I want to format only these cells that contain anywhere where the cell value is greater than or equal to what I've got typed in cell V1. If that's true, I want to format it. I'm going to give the font color. How about if we try, I don't know, maybe this dark orange color. The fill color, I'll try a lighter fill color on that. Hit OK. Hit OK. And it highlights that number. So now that I've got that highlighted, I'm going to go to my Home tab, choose Format Painter, and click and drag all of these capacities all the way down to the bottom. Now this one, you're going to have to be a little bit careful as you're copying these down because it's 423 records. Don't go too far like I just did. Come back up here. I'm still holding my shift key as I'm doing this. You want the last one. Let go. And now if I hit end and up, notice all those numbers that are above 90% are now showing up. So if I change that to 100%, my formatting suddenly changes. If we make it 50%, you can see most of the courses are highlighted, some of them aren't. So that's how you can do conditional formatting. All right, save your work. Last couple tasks, 17, 18, 19, those are all for kind of formatting things to make everything look kind of nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first adjust all my column widths here. And so I click on column A, hold my shift key, click on column AG in this case. Go in between any two of these columns, J and K, K and L, doesn't really matter. When your symbol looks like this pipe symbol with two arrows right between the two letters, double click there. And notice that it just shrunk everything down and narrowed it up nicely. For the titles, you might even shrink that down just a hair more. I would do the same thing for the instructor because I'm trying to give myself a bit more room to be able to print all this data out. Save my work. Then what it says is to group all the sheets, and we're going to add headers and footers. So right click on your sheet tab, choose select all sheets, choose page layout, print titles, header and footer, custom header, the left section, type in your name, center section, type in CIT 110, principles of CIT, fall 2020, the semester that I'm doing this, and then I'll type in on the right hand section, if I tab over to that, date printed, colon, a space, and I'm going to use this date tool. Hit OK. Choose custom footer, type in the word file. I want my file name, page, I've got the page number of so many pages, and then finally the sheet, and we've got the sheet tab. Hit OK. We'll try going to margins. I'm going to shrink the margins down a little bit, see if that'll help us. Let's try print preview and see how this is turning out. I've got 24 pages, all right? That's a lot to print. Don't accidentally print it at this point. The first one, I've got my headers and footers. That looks good. That page looks all right. Second one, here's my pivot table. That seems to be fitting just fine. That one looks good. Next one, I've got the courses and more courses and more courses. But the only problem is on these courses, I can't tell what's what. Let's clean some things up there. So let's go back out. Let's ungroup these sheets by right-clicking and choosing Ungroup. Save your work. Now I just want to work on the combined sheet. So, orientation. Let's change that to landscape. And now my page break is all the way over here. I just about have it wide enough to be able to go one page wide. So what I'm going to do for the print titles is where it says margins, let's try shrinking that down even a bit more and then try print preview. And now I've got level showing up here as well. So that looks good. Let's go back. My page break is just there. I'm okay with that part. Next, what I want to do is go to print titles where it says on the sheet tab, rows to repeat at the top. I want to choose rows 1, 2, and 3. Then when I hit print preview, here's page 1. Page 2, I've got the field names that I can read these field names, and that works a lot better. So we've kind of forced ourselves, to print this out a little bit nicer so it all kind of fits on one page. Granted, I realize 15 pages, you probably wouldn't want to print all that stuff out, but it's not too bad. Some of these field names are a little bit strange. Here it's got like the wait list. It looks like that's kind of a little bit, was wrapped there. So now I just widened it out. It looks like I'm still keeping this on here. That's not too bad. The section number, we could probably even just call this SEC for section, and that would change that. This one, the campus, we can see if we can make that a little bit wider to give us campus. But and it looks like it worked. I'm still 1 page wide, so everything looks pretty good there. All my data looks readable. So we'll hit Control Home. Let's save this and submit your work. So 45 minutes later, we got our assignment done. I realize it's going to take you a little bit longer than that, but it's all different techniques that you can start using and doing a lot of powerful things with a spreadsheet. So good luck on that.